Hey everyone, so this is a quick bonus Coffee with Kari Live. Had not totally planned to do this, but I thought, what the heck, why not? So this morning I launched my Patreon page, so make sure you check over on Patreon for Kari the Mortician. It is live there. There's 3 tier levels you can join and get more bonus Kari in your month. So make sure to join over there. So I'm going to go and answer questions from last week's live, actually, that were posted. Do you know the origin of the rule that cremated remains be ground to a point that no bone fragments are identifiable before giving the cremains to the family? And do I know if it's standard in all 50 states? That's a great question. I honestly don't know where it originated from. I would assume it's probably because they don't want whole bones being given to a family. Where then they could be done who knows what with. I'm guessing that's part of it. I'll have to look into see how many 50 states, if there are laws in all of them or not. So I'll get back to you on that one. I've been having iced coffee all summer. I love you guys sharing about your coffee obsessions with me too. Hector in California, it's hot. Does autopsy make harder for embalming, and what is affected? So not really. I actually think embalming someone who's had an autopsy is sometimes easier because we know what's going on under. If someone's an autopsied, we're not questioning, okay, are there clots here? Is this going on there? You have most of the time some good vessels that you can easily find. You would go up both sides of the neck. You would then pull up the axillary down into the arm, into each arm, and then the femoral or the iliac down in the legs. So it depends what the pathologist has left for you, but it can be much simpler doing the injecting because the vessels are really easily there for you to find. And you don't know if there's kind of a disruption within the vasculature system that you can't see. So sometimes I think it's actually easier. A lot more suturing though. My people sharing, you guys share lots and lots of things. I have rods and screws in my back. If my family don't tell them they're in my back, do they look for them before they cremate you? So they don't take anything out before you're cremated except a pacemaker or something with a battery. The only thing they will do is then after you're left with all this cremated remains and then the implants. So some of them, the larger ones we can see. We can see a big, a hip implant or big screws, things like that, where we can easily grab them out. We can run a magnet over that. Sometimes that'll work, but we'll try and pull all of those pieces out before we then put the rest of the cremated remains in the cremulator to grind them down into that finer coarse or that finer material, kind of a little ashy, a little grainy. Is it legal to place ashes on someone's grave without approval from the funeral home? So if you go out and just scatter on top of someone's grave, it's not legal, no. To spread cremated remains, not ashes, cremated remains in a place that is owned by someone else, you need permission of that property owner. So that means at a cemetery, you need permission from the cemetery. In a park, you need permission from the county or the state or whoever governs the park. So going out to the forest and just spraying cremated remains is not legal, actually, because unless you have permission from whoever owns that park. So doing things like that are not legal. Yes, you may get away with it. Yes, no one may ever see you. Yes, no one may ever know, but it doesn't make it legal. Boobly Boo was asking, what does the church put on towards the later part of the video? Trying to think back to what you might be talking about. I want to say the pall is what you might have been talking about, that they put the pall out. So the pall in a Catholic funeral is a large white cloth that the family or the pall bearers is where it originated from, spelled P-A-L-L, place and lay over the casket for the duration of the mass or the service in the Catholic Church. This is representative of when the person died, that they then were cloaked in a white christening gown. So now in their death, they are cloaked in a white gown one more time. That's what that is representative of. And so that pall, that large sheet type item, is used during the Catholic Mass, and it's provided by the church. Let's look and see. I'm not even reading, guys, because I'm on a different screen. I see all you guys are asking questions and everything. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Lots of sunshine and smiles. I love it. Oh, JW, yeah, there's a debate going on that you have to have a bra on if you're a woman when you're buried. There's no law, seriously, guys. There's no law that you have to have a bra on when you're buried. Come on. You don't have to have anything specifically on when you're buried. Don't believe everything you read on the internet, for real. I know there's some like post that somebody said, oh, I'm gonna, punch somebody in the face if they bury me in a bra or something crazy, but no, not a law. The funeral home where I work sometimes sprinkles carpet fresh in the foot of the casket. Is that common practice? Sometimes people have their tricks in their trade that they will put kitty litter in the foot of the casket to absorb any smell or other type things like that, where you maybe give off a more pleasant odor or you absorb some of the smell, baking soda, whatever it might be, different tricks that they use and that they just do for every burial. Just in case, if there's a direct cremation, can there still be some kind of service through a funeral home? Of course. So direct cremation just means that there is no service prior to the cremation. If you have a memorial service or a viewing and then cremation, cremation is just the disposition. The direct is your service choice. So if you have a direct cremation, then you're not having a service at the funeral home, but you can have a service with a cremation. So there's this huge misconception around this term, direct cremation, because people think you either can have a viewing and a burial or you have to immediately be cremated. You can have a full viewing, you can have a service and then be cremated at the end, or you can have a cremation and a memorial service or cremation and visitation or whatever you want to have. The service part is your choice. The disposition part is your choice. Hope that helps. I used to be incredibly terrified of death and bodies. Your channel has put me at ease. Oh my goodness, thank you. Jeffrey, I'm not even going to say your whole name. I think it's a silly name that you chose just because of everything going wrong with it, but you are a good supporter of mine. So I'll give you points for that. Have you ever dressed a cross for the casket? I don't know if cross-dresser is really like a acceptable term anymore, but I have placed like undergarments that were more for female on someone who would maybe be viewed as male, or, had someone who was maybe clinically female be dressed in more masculine, like soft, nothing that was maybe a full, what you would consider cross-dressing, I guess. At my cemetery, we have a scattering garden. I've never seen anyone utilize this. Do they actually just sprinkle cremains in a communal way? Yes. However, it's not the family specifically. It's under the guidance of the cemetery. You can't just anybody go there and do it. I mean, it's still monitored and overseen by the cemetery completely. I got the cremated remains back of my dad and it still had an unburned finger in there. I can't imagine there would be a finger, maybe a bone, but for there to still be tissue, that is like, I don't know how that would ever happen just because of the heat index, the heat that they use. What page did I launch? So it's my Patreon page. So Patreon is a platform that artists and different people use. So it's a way to get bonus things from somebody, and you pledge so much a month to go towards it. So those funds I will then use to put towards videos that I am, traveling with them or using them to go do some videos. I've had a lot of people asking me to start a Patreon because they want to help push me so that I can go do bigger, better videos, and that I have funds to go do that. So any traveling I've done up till now has been my own expense, which is, fine. It's been fun to do all of that. But to do some bigger things and to, allow me that time and such will take a little more funds. And so that's why people have wanted to contribute. And this was a way to do it. So you can get a few extra videos a month from me there and some other bonus things. So it's just something that people have been asking me to do. And I finally caved and did it. I have resisted for a long time. I don't know, just kind of made me nervous saying, hey, send me money, because it seems weird. But looking at it and stuff, I'm okay with how we set it up. That way I'm giving you at least something for you joining with me. If a wife hated her spouse, wanted something disrespectful, said women undergarment under suit as her last laugh, would you do it or send to a different funeral home? Ooh, I don't know. I think it would depend on what the request was. If it was like something of fun and stuff, but if it was malicious, then I don't think I could do it, truly, at all. Do I know of any paramedics whom became a funeral director? Yes, quite a few. And 37 is never too late. This is a huge business full of second career individuals that people went over. Ryan from Ryan and Brian on Undertaking the Podcast, Ryan was paramedic over to, or EMT over to a funeral director. So I'm sure you could shoot him a message about it, that he talks about that transition and making it over. So has anyone in the US used coffins rather than cremation or than caskets? Yes, we have coffins available here. It's just not the norm. Just like in some parts of the country, we use a half couch, and some parts we use a full couch casket where part of the lid opens or the whole lid. So it just depends regionally what is traditional and what is used. Just like over in England, they do have caskets, but coffins are just more traditional. Have you ever did a funeral for an active duty military member? I have done active duty, but they didn't die deployed or anything. They died while on, is it called a furlough? Where they're home just for a 2-week, and she was hit by a car and died. So she wasn't, she was an active service member, but she wasn't in action. How do you phrase that? You guys know what I mean. I'm using all the wrong terms, I'm sure. Can bodies have an odor? Yeah, thank you, Carl. She was on leave. I'm lacking for words again today. I don't know why I'm fumbly lately, guys. It's crazy. Have you ever did a funeral for an active duty blah? Can bodies have an odor left by the time of viewing, such as decay or products used to preserve them? Yes, we get individuals, I've talked about this a few times, that their bodies are dead before they've died, that they're just shutting down at different phases. And so parts of them are essentially dead days before the rest of them die. I know it seems weird, but when we get someone who's an hour dead and they have a green abdomen, and that is the first sign of like you're in decomposition, and we get that quite a bit because people just, their bodies shut down in different ways before they actually die. And so they do start having that odor of decomposition not long after they have actually died. Have you ever done a funeral for a bad guy, such as a serial killer? I guess they still have family who care. Yeah, David, one of the things that one of the mentors has said before is glimmer of the eye. Like everybody has always been a glimmer in somebody's eye, that they had mom, they had a dad, they had a moment where, they were a glimmer in somebody's eye, that they were special to somebody, and that they probably still are special, even if they're a mass murderer on death row, worst of the worst, there's still somebody that probably is there caring for them because they're family. And so that definitely, I have buried a couple people who are not the best of individuals, and had done some really crappy things in their lifetime. And so I just focus on the fact that I'm helping the family, you know, get to that end point and take care of who they love. I don't need to love the person. They're not my loved one. I'm caring for, at that point, a dead human. That person or body that I'm caring for is not the evil form. It was everything that left when they died. And so I have to just focus on the fact I'm caring for that shell at that point for that family. If I put all my emotions into it and my judgment and my thoughts, then I'm not helping anybody. And I can't do that. That's just not me. There are funeral directors who will say that. There's people who have been turned away from funeral homes, who have been just cast aside because they will not care for certain people. That's their choice. But I think when we come into this business, we come into it saying we're caring for the dead. And it's hard to do. I don't think we should do that with judgment, but that's just me. Coffin already dressed out, or do you add the bedding and lining yourself? It depends on the coffin and where they get it from. Sometimes they're very basic and they will put all the interior and stuff in themselves. So it just depends on the manufacturer and how they order them. If they're ordering them in bulk and everything, they probably have to put them together a little bit themselves. Yeah, just the same with nursing and doctors and a lot of care things. You do your job and you can't judge who you're doing it on for the most part. I always think back, was it an episode of Grey's Anatomy or something that there was like or ER or one of those shows where like they bring in this like serial killer or something, and you know, it's this big debate, like how do we care for them? And you know, I don't know, the whole moral, ethical, everything. During a viewing, has anyone mentioned they could smell the body being unpleasant? Yeah, I have had where people are like, what does that smell? Like, what can we do? And we try to do what we can. It's not too often that it's overbearing. Sometimes just a normal deceased smell might be strong and off-putting for somebody if they have heightened senses and everything, because it's just a different smell than they're used to. And so they may find that being offensive. It's just hard to tell depending on the person. So, well, this one was going to be quick for you guys. There's 2-minute out today. So make sure you check out the 2-minute video on gravestone foundations that posted a little bit ago. And then check out Patreon if you're interested in it. That's just been something you guys have been asking for, some of you. So it is now there and available. So take advantage of that. Thank you guys. And I'll be back tomorrow with a live video at some point for Coffee with Kari on our usual Wednesday. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great Tuesday. Bye.